Chapter 45-55. Huangfu Fengyan took a deep breath. Third brother, I know that we need to borrow her strength, but she is only one of the 4 great Tian families, and our status is not lower than hers. Shut up. Huangfu Qifei snorted coldly. What you said was in the past. But now, there are no 4 great families, there is only a Ren family. Huangfu Fengyan stared at Huangfu Qifei in a daze. After a long time, she finally spoke with a hoarse voice. Third brother, do you want to fight big brother for the position of patriarch of the Huangfu clan? Rob. Huangfu Qifei smiled warmly, and there was faint warmth between his brows. Didn't big brother seize his current position from Huangfu Jin as well? Huangfu Fengyan widened her eyes in shock. Huangfu Qifei moved closer to her. Lifting his hand, he placed it on her shoulder and patted her gently. Since this position doesn't belong to Huangfu Jin, it can belong to big brother. Why can't it belong to me? In terms of strength and strategy, I am above big brother, am I not? Fourth sister, think carefully about how you want to choose your future path. Third brother really appreciates you. As he finished speaking, Huangfu Qifei wore a warm smile and walked in the direction of the 4 people who had come to greet him. Huangfu Fengyan was stunned on the spot. His heart was thumping non-stop. What did third brother mean by that? Was he forcing her to make a choice? From a long time ago. She knew that this seemingly warm and gentle third brother wasn't as simple as he seemed on the surface. They also knew that third brother had always been smarter than them. But he had never thought that he would be interested in the position of patriarch of the Huangfu family. In a vast and empty space that stretched as far as the eye could see, Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian walked for a long time, but the surrounding situation didn't change at all. Yiqing Luo didn't sense any other signs of life. She tugged at Dmo Xian's sleeve. Ah, Xian, isn't something amiss? No matter how we walk, we seem to be going in circles, not to mention meeting other people. Dmo Xian halted his footsteps and lowered his eyes to look at her. You've finally discovered it. Yiqing Luo, you mean, you already knew? Dmo Xian nodded. That's right, from the moment we entered, we already realized it. Yiqing Luo. Then why didn't you say so earlier? I want to be alone with you for a while. Dmo Xian wrapped his arms around her slender waist and buried his head into her neck, inhaling the delicate fragrance from her body. Yiqing Luo's heart immediately softened. The expression on his face also softened. This man really knew how to soothe her temper. Yiqing Luo helplessly stared at him as she stretched out her hand and pinched his face. I think you are intentionally trying to see me embarrass myself. Dmo Xian's large palm clasped her little hand as he chuckled. I just want to look at you. Yiqing Luo. Flirt again. She put on a serious face and got down to business. If I'm not wrong, this array has separated us from Xiao Yi and the others. Unless we break this array, otherwise we won't be able to see Xiao Yi and the others. Xiao Yi and the others will be fine, right? Separate her from her brothers. Was their goal to target her, or Qiao Jin and Huangfu Xing? Those 3 Huangfu family siblings all had strong ambitions. Towards Qiao Jin's existence, they were fearful. Towards Huangfu Xing's existence, they were jealous and indignant. If they were given a chance, they would definitely not let Qiao Jin and Huangfu Xing off. End of this chapter. Chapter 45-56. You can rest assured. Dmo Xian raised his hand and smoothed out Yiqing Luo's creased brows. Don't belittle those brothers of yours. Yiqing Luo smiled as she pursed her lips. I've never belittled them, but the opponents aren't ordinary people. This was the Heaven Realm. They were the Huangfu clan and the Gloomy Palace. That Gloomy Palace had been jumping up and down for such a long time. It wasn't just her that couldn't handle it. Even the Emperor Palace had not been able to find out who the mastermind was until now. It was enough to show that the power behind the Dark Abyss Palace was far beyond her imagination. Don't forget, Qiao Jin is the acknowledged successor of the Huangfu clan. Dmo Xian pinched her nose. With the Huangfu family's golden pupils, his strength is not necessarily below yours. Yiqing Luo was slightly shocked. Dmo Xian rarely praised someone. To be praised by Dmo Xian, it meant that the other party was really strong. Who would have thought that Qiao Jin, as the successor of the Huangfu clan, would actually possess such formidable strength? He even pretended to be a pig to eat a tiger. If he had known earlier, he would have left most of the matters to Qiao Jin to settle. Hearing what Dmo Xian said, Yiqing Luo's heart finally heaved a sigh of relief. She clasped her hands together. The most important thing now is to find the eye of the formation, break out of it, and rush to their side as soon as possible. Pausing, she used a suspicious gaze to size Dmo Xian up and down. Don't tell me you know the method to break the array but refuse to tell me? In all honesty, I really don't know. Dmo Xian put on an innocent face and shook his head sincerely. Yiqing Luo stared at him suspiciously for quite a while. Scheme didn't find anything. She almost lost herself in his charms. Yiqing Luo retracted her gaze and pressed her hand on his elegant face. I'll trust you one more time, let's go look for the array eye. Dmo Xian laughed lowly. A warm breath sprayed onto her palm. They were like feathers, tickling her heart. Yiqing Luo moved her hand away and pressed her palm on his chest, rubbing it hard. She rubbed the itch in her palm onto his body. She glared at the man, warning him not to tease her again. Then, he turned his gaze to the surroundings. The palace of gloomy shadows had specially separated her from Yan Shao Yi and the rest. There must be a reason. He wanted to trap her in the formation. Or was he trying to achieve something through this formation? Upon closer inspection, in this empty space, the surroundings seemed illusory, but vaguely, there were strands of black aura lingering around. But the black gas, as it approached the two of them. However, he avoided the two of them and brushed past them. Originally, Yiqing Luo didn't pay much attention to those black chi fluctuations. However, she suddenly thought of something. He stared unblinkingly at the black aura floating in the air. As expected, he found that the black gas was floating in the same direction. Found it. Yiqing Luo held on to Dmo Xian's hand as they headed towards the direction where the black chi was floating. After a while, the scene in front of them was no longer empty. Instead, it was a bloody catastrophe. The sky was dyed red with blood. The field was littered with corpses. The war drums continued to beat. The two of them stood in the middle of the battle. The sudden scene caused Yiqing Luo to be in a daze. Chapter 45-57. But their position wasn't very good. There were people in all directions. Blood splattered. The corpses fell. Only by flying up into the sky could they avoid being accidentally injured by the soldiers. But what made Yiqing Luo astonished was they didn't evade. Whereas the weapons in the soldiers' hands directly pierced through their bodies, slashing towards the soldiers at the side. Yiqing Luo's evading action stopped just like that. She tried to stretch out her hand towards those soldiers. After waving it for a while. Indeed, it didn't affect the soldiers at all. The battle was still ongoing. The both of them seemed like a transparent existence. No one could see them. This should be a mirage. Dmo Xian held her little hand tightly. Follow me closely, be careful. Yiqing Luo nodded. A sudden scene of the battlefield. Who knew what tricks were they playing? But don't you feel that this battle looks like A battle between cultivators. Yiqing Luo felt a little strange. The sky above the battlefield rippled with layers of profound waves. The soldiers were using their profound energy, attacking each other. The corpses were in an extremely horrifying state. Dmo Xian looked at the huge battlefield in front of him, as he nodded slightly. This should be a battle between cultivators, and I don't know if it's an illusion, but I feel that this scene is exceptionally familiar. Familiar. Yiqing Luo's brows creased slightly, as her gaze swiftly swept across the surroundings. This battle actually made Xian feel familiar. Could it be that he had participated in this battle before? This way, let's go. Dmo Xian pulled her, as he headed towards the battlefield. His footsteps were a little messy. The hand which held Yiqing Luo's hand slightly increased the strength. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips as she looked at the man's back view. Her fingers also tightened as she held his hand, as she quietly followed behind him. Just at this moment, suddenly on the battlefield, a violent gale arose, lightning flashed and thunder roared. The darkness corroded, as though it was going to swallow the entire battlefield. While the soldiers were panicking, another burst of fiery profound wave, as it spread in all directions. That dazzling red glow, like a blazing inferno. In an instant, it intertwined with that darkness. Immediately following that, Yiqing Luo saw an extremely familiar figure appearing on the horizon. That person was dressed in a blazing red robe, and his aura was disdainful. A red veil covered half of her face. The only thing that was revealed was a pair of beautiful eyes that shone with a captivating light. Yiqing Luo's pupils constricted abruptly. God, Emperor's Emperor, yes. The woman in red was Feng Gu. She would never remember wrongly. Why did she see Feng Gu in the illusion of this battlefield? Hadn't she already left the barbaric Bloodbone King's memory space? Feng Gu continued to release dazzling profound light. It suppressed the wave after wave of darkness. The battle was quite exciting. Yiqing Luo was puzzled. He kept staring at Feng Gu, sizing her up. She wanted to ask Dmo Xian. But she discovered that Dmo Xian's eyes were staring at Feng Gu without blinking. His eyes were deep and dark, unable to see through his emotions. But Yiqing Luo could feel it. Dmo Xian's current mood was obviously not the same as usual. She thought about it. She still did not open her mouth to disturb Dmo Xian. The killing on the battlefield continued. Both sides fought for an unknown period of time. The scene in front of their eyes suddenly changed. That valiant-looking Feng Gu who was still on the battlefield earlier, was now lying weakly on the bed. That face, which was extremely similar to Yiqing Luo, was deathly pale. There wasn't any spirit in his eyes. Chapter 45-58. Yiqing Luo's heart felt as though it was pricked by a needle, with some faint stabbing pain. Her breathing quickened as she stared unblinkingly at the deathly pale face. Her throat felt as though it was being choked by something. That little hand which was grabbing onto Dmo Xian unknowingly increased its strength. The sovereign of the Divine Emperor, how could he become so weak? I've roughly guessed the reason why the Nether Palace used this array to trap you. Dmo Xian stretched out his long arm and pulled the young lady into his embrace. The palace master of the secluded Darkness Palace didn't get any information he wanted when he entered the barbaric Bloodbone King's memories. But you, in that memory, can see memories that they can't see. So, they want to use this memory to dig out what you know about that period of time in the past and get the clues they want. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered, but I didn't see any of these in the Bloodbone Barbaric King. This should be the part of the memory that the Palace of Gloomy Darkness knows. Dmo Xian's vision looked towards the young lady who was lying on the bed not too far away, who looked extremely similar to Yiqing Luo. He sighed softly. The Palace of Darkness wants you to know about this part of your memories. The Tenebrous Palace also had the memories of the Divine Emperor. Could it be, the person behind the scenes of the Palace of Gloomy Darkness was also someone from that time? That person. Why did he let her see this memory of the Divine Emperor? Stay awake, don't be affected by everything here. Dmo Xian's gentle voice was close to her ear. His warmth enveloped the girl. I don't know what method Tenyu Palace is using to search your memories, but, as long as your will is strong, Tenyu Palace won't have the chance. Yiqing Luo took a deep breath and clenched her fist. All right. As the two of them spoke, Fenggu suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood was obviously jet black. She was poisoned. Yiqing Luo's pupils contracted slightly. The sovereign of the Divine Emperor was poisoned. How did she get poisoned? Yiqing Luo's heart was in a mess and she was just about to step forward to check out what poison it was. He had yet to move. He saw an old woman in her 50s, holding a baby in her arms, walking over quickly. When he saw the old woman, Fenggu, who was lying on the bed, immediately propped herself up and looked at the baby with infatuated eyes. Quick! Quick, bring Luo Luo over. Her face was filled with reluctance and attachment to the little baby. Master. The old woman carried the baby to Feng Ji's bedside and handed him over. Feng Ji's hands were shaking. He gently touched the soft baby. It was like he couldn't wait to tightly pull her into his embrace. However, he was also worried that he would crush the baby, so he kept controlling his strength. Luo Luo. I'm sorry. Chapter 45-59. The old lady carried the baby carefully as she looked at Fenggu with heartache. God Emperor, Qing Luo is right here, this old servant will take good care of her. Take a rest first and when your body is better, you will be able to accompany Qing Luo. Feng Ji's gaze returned to the baby's face. Her eyes were burning as she stared greedily. As if she wanted to remember the baby's face in her heart. That kind of tenderness. That kind of reluctance. There's no time. Her voice was very hoarse, as if something was strangling her. Grandma Bai, you know. I don't have time. The old lady's eyes turned red. No, God Emperor. You will be fine. She placed the baby in her arms in front of Fenggu and said in a choked and anxious voice, God Emperor, look here, this is your child. Don't tell me you can bear to leave her alone. Feng Ji's lips twitched. As if she wanted to laugh. But she couldn't muster up any strength. Can't bear to, how could I bear to? Her voice was so soft that it was mixed with the wind, making it sound unreal. But it's too late, there's no time. Fenggu closed her eyes in pain. The tears overflowed from the corners of her eyes and slid down her cheeks. The old lady was almost choking with sobs. Fenggu adjusted her breathing and let the old lady carry the baby, facing her face. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes again. Suddenly, her 5 fingers moved. Pierced into her heart. Blood blended with her blazing robe. The air seemed to be filled with a thick smell of blood. The old lady cried out involuntarily, God Emperor, what are you doing? The old lady panicked and wanted to put down the baby to stop Feng Ji's self-harm. But before she could move, Feng Ji's painful voice stopped her. Grandma Bai, don't move. The moment she spoke, her breathing became messy. It affected the wound on her chest and the pain was twitching. That originally pale face, at this moment, looked even paler. There was no trace of blood on it. This was not only the old lady choking with sobs. Even Yiqing Luo, who was standing by the side, couldn't stop her tears from flowing down along the corners of her eyes. Yiqing Luo was totally unable to control her own emotions. His heart ached to the extreme. Dmo Xian gently patted her back as his gentle lips kissed her hair, his actions soothing her gently. Finally, Feng Ji's hand slowly stretched out. On her palm, there was a sparkling paste with blood on it. It was shaped like a heart. It shone with the flowing light of profound waves. When the old woman saw the thing in Feng Ji's palm, her face immediately turned pale. Divine Emperor, what are you doing? This is your profound heart jade. In this world, there are only 2 divine phoenix profound heart jades. Feng Ji's voice was barely audible. It was hard for him to even make a sound. One is in Qing Luo's body and the other is mine. By Mama, I'm very clear about my own situation. I can't continue to accompany her. This is the only thing I can do, and also, something I must do. Feng Ji's voice was getting weaker and weaker. Even the sound of his breath was a little erratic. She flipped her palm. That blood-stained profound jade heart was surrounded by a profound wave. Endless profound waves, lingering around. Tightly, quickly, and orderly, they rushed into the baby's body. The dazzling profound light filled the entire room. Chapter 45-60. If they continued to endure, the other party might just stand on their heads and pee. Mu Qiulan gripped her sleeves tightly. Her face under the veil was also restraining itself from twisting. She raised her head and looked at the young girl standing on the second floor. Looking from this angle, the light of the luminous pearls was ravaging the surroundings. It was as if it had coated the young girl with a layer of velvet light. The young girl who had already taken off her veil and was facing the heavens without any makeup. Under this light, her skin was sparkling and translucent, and her devastatingly beautiful face came into view clearly. Just a single glance. Even though she was a woman and was jealous of her, she still couldn't stop her heart from skipping a beat. Mu Qiulan's 5 fingers suddenly tightened. The face under the veil suddenly turned deathly pale. Imperial Madam, since the Overlord has personally acknowledged you, you shouldn't rely on the Overlord's trust in you to be so unscrupulous. Mu Qiulan criticized her word by word. Since I've come to the auction, I'm a guest of the auction. Yet because of my relationship with the Overlord, you let this senior from the underworld palace chase me out of the auction. How can you act like a mistress of a house like this? Her words paused slightly, and her gaze suddenly shifted to Pei Xing, who was standing beside the auctioneer. Or is this how the Treasures Exchange House treats its guests? Basically, everyone who came to the auction knew how important the Treasures Exchange House was to Pei Xing. In order to complete the Treasures Exchange House's wish of this auction, Pei Xing had specially delayed the day of going to the Heaven Realm with Old Master Huangfu. It was sufficient to show exactly how important this auction was to him. Mu Qiulan's words. Not only, 7. 3. Little at #net. Chapter 45-61. Under Su Qingbing's worry and anxiety, she brought along the Blood Mercenaries group's elite mercenaries. The moment she struck, those killers could only wait to be captured. Yi Qing Luo and Su Qingbing walked to the backyard. Bo Songyi was supporting Gu Zixi as they walked over. Group leader, Zixi is injured. Gu Zixi smiled at Su Qingbing. Group leader, I'm fine, it's just a small injury. Su Qingbing looked at Gu Zixi pale face and frowned slightly. What's going on? Why are there killers here? She raised her eyes and glanced at Bo Songyi. Have you checked clearly? Who are these killers here to kill? Mentioning this, Bo Songyi's expression sunk. He glanced at Pei Xing's direction from the corner of his eyes and gave a cold harumph. The trouble that lad created has caused Zixi to suffer. I'm really fine, it has nothing to do with Xing. Gu Zixi heard Bo Songyi's tone and immediately opened her mouth to explain. Bo Songyi couldn't help but sneer. He can't even protect you, what kind of man is he? Gu Zixi bit her lower lip as a sliver of anger surfaced on her face. Bo Songyi. You. Before she could finish her words, she was interrupted by Su Qingbing. Shing. Not calling me brother anymore. Su Qingbing opened her mouth. It indeed suppressed the accusation that Gu Zishi was about to say. Gu Zishi's face blushed slightly as she slowly lowered her eyelids, looking a little shy. Not brother anymore. TSK. Su Qingbing's lips curled as her elegant face broke out into a smile. Then congratulations, the clouds have dispersed to see the moon. Gu Zishi's face turned even redder. The two of them spoke one after another. Bo Songyi was completely stunned by the amount of information that was revealed. He looked at Gu Zishi in astonishment as his voice trembled slightly. You and that lad. Emin, Gu Zishi smiled as she nodded. The radiance in Bo Songyi's eyes dimmed. But he pretended not to mind as he said, congratulations. Coincidentally, Pei Xing, with the help of the mercenaries, had restrained all the killers and was anxiously looking for Gu Zishi. When he saw Gu Zishi, he quickly walked over. He stretched out his long arm and pulled Gu Zishi away from Bo Songyi's side into his embrace. He placed his large palm on Gu Zishi's face and gently caressed it. Are you all right? He asked gently. Gu Zishi leaned against his chest, and her pretty face was slightly flushed. I'm fine. When their eyes met, Yi Shiwen's expression changed. It was as if there was no room for anyone else. Bo Songyi looked at his empty wrist, then raised his head and looked at Gu Zishi, who was obviously happy and sweet. His hand, which was suspended in mid-air, clenched into a fist. Su Qingbing walked over and gently patted his shoulder. Then, he walked past Bo Songyi and walked into the courtyard. This melodramatic relationship drama made Yi Qing Luo smack her lips non-stop. However, she did not intend to intervene in this melodramatic scene. She glanced at the two of them, and after confirming that they only had some superficial injuries, she followed Su Qingbing into the courtyard. When he passed by Pei Xing, she took out a medicine bottle and stuffed it into his hand. When he passed by Pei Xing, she took out a medicine bottle and stuffed it into his hand. In the courtyard, the mercenaries stood by the side. The killers knelt on the ground, and one by one, their masks were torn off, revealing their faces. The killers had apparently been injected with profound qi, and were rooted to the ground, unable to even commit suicide. The mercenaries stood neatly by the side. The killers were pressed onto the ground in a sorry state. This stark contrast. TSK, to let Blood Red's elite mercenaries come over to wrap things up. This was really a waste of God's resources. Chapter 45-62. If the Palace of Darkness is unable to get the memory they want from me, will they let us out? Yi Qing Luo raised her hand and placed it gently on her chest. Gently, it was pressed on the direction of her chest. Dmo Xian shook his head. No, they should know about that memory earlier. The Sovereign of God Emperor had injected her divine phoenix profound heart jade's energy into your body. They should be trying to find the real location of the Divine Emperor's tomb through you. Divine Emperor's tomb. Yi Qing Luo lowered her eyelids slightly. She had roughly guessed the real motive of the Palace of Darkness. It should be to find out the whereabouts of the Divine Emperor's tomb from her. Back in Nirvana realm, when she met the Dark Forces, King of Darkness's target was her profound heart jade. It belonged to her and not the Sovereign of God Emperors. As for the Palace of Darkness, they had tried to deal with her several times but they didn't dare to harm her life. Because the Palace of Darkness knew that she was the daughter of the Sovereign of God Emperor. She could find the Divine Emperor's tomb. More accurately speaking, only she could open the door to the Divine Emperor's tomb. The Palace of Darkness's real motive was the Divine Emperor's tomb. So, Palace of Darkness wants to find the exact location of the Divine Emperor's tomb through that memory of mine or to find a way to open the tomb. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes solemnly. Both, I guess. Dmo Xian caressed her hair. Now that we're clear of the Palace of Darkness's motive, we're not considered to be too passive. Yiqing Luo nodded her head vigorously. Amen, we need to hurry and find the array core, then break the array and leave this place. One more second in the array. Yiqing Luo felt flustered. Who knew if the Palace of Darkness would come up with something new to force her consciousness out? Just at this moment. Suddenly, a dazzling ray of light appeared in between the two of them. This sudden ray of light made the both of them unable to react in time. The next moment, the both of them felt a blinding ray of light in front of them. Subconsciously, they shut their eyes. The ray of light quickly enveloped the both of them. Then, the light gradually dissipated. Yiqing Luo then slowly opened her eyes. After the strong light, her eyes still felt uncomfortable. She rubbed her eyes and said, "Ah Xian, what kind of trick is this formation going to play?" However, there was a moment of silence. There was no response from Dmo Xian. She grabbed a few. They could only grab air. Her expression froze and she hurriedly moved her hand away. The man who had always been holding her hand and hugging her had disappeared. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. Clearly, when the light shone just now, their hands were still holding together. How could it be, all of a sudden, I can't sense his presence anymore? Ah Xian. Ah Xian. Chapter 45-63. Which meant she could use this array to find the person who set it up. Yiqing Luo's eyes darkened. In the empty space, there was a vast expanse of whiteness that stretched as far as the eye could see. She simply sat on the ground. No matter which way she walked, it was the same environment in front. She wanted to see how well the Palace of Darkness could keep their composure. After Yiqing Luo sat down, she looked lazy, but in actual fact she was releasing her senses to sense all the changes in the surroundings. She secretly used her mental energy to try to contact the pet space or the Azure Dew bracelet. But no matter if it was the pet space or the Azure Dew bracelet, there was no response. This array also cut off the connection between her and the pet space as well as the Azure Dew bracelet. The Palace of Darkness was planning to make her isolated and helpless, so that they could penetrate her mental defense. Yiqing Luo didn't move. The surrounding nothingness was also silent. The entire space seemed to be completely silent. Not a single sound could be heard. Not knowing how long had passed, Yiqing Luo's heart was as calm as a pool of stagnant water, without any ripples. The Palace of Darkness couldn't find any opportunity to attack her consciousness. Suddenly, she felt a burning pain in her chest. As if a ball of fire was burning in her chest. Yiqing Luo's breath stopped as her fingers pressed against her chest. That was the profound jade heart. It was agitated. Yiqing Luo concentrated slightly as she tried to calm her emotions. The Palace of Darkness couldn't hold it in any longer. As long as the Palace of Darkness was anxious, she would be able to find the key to break this array. The burning and scorching heat in her chest was like a ball of fire, trying to break out from her body. This agitated feeling, it belonged to the Emperor of God's profound jade heart. As if it was about to leave her body. Your profound jade heart is the key to open the Emperor of God's tomb. In a trance, there seemed to be someone talking to her. The voice was very soft and the surroundings were very noisy. She couldn't hear it clearly. You are the key. Quick, use your key to open that door. As long as you open that door, you will obtain the supreme glory. The illusory voice was still ringing in his ears. When Yiqing Luo heard that, she only felt the scorching feeling in her chest, as it started to surge. It was as if something was being torn apart. The ethereal and noisy voices in her ears kept vibrating in her brain. Yiqing Luo only felt that there was something throbbing in her forehead. Her breathing quickened. He pressed hard on his chest. The secluded darkness palace was too sinister. He knew he could not shake her heart. To actually use hypnosis, to bewitch her. Yiqing Luo shut her eyes tightly. He calmed himself down and calmed himself down. He tried hard to ignore the explosion in his head. However, the burning sensation in his chest was like a ball of raging fire. Tell me, the location of the Divine Emperor's tomb, and I'll take you with me, to ascend the throne. The pinnacle of humans. The noise was still ringing in his ears. Vaguely, she seemed to feel a large palm slowly reaching towards her. That was a hand that was totally different from Dmo Xian's. It gave her a warm feeling. Filled with hope. She didn't know why, but from this hand, she could see warmth and hope. But in her mind, there was a voice that kept repeating this. The young lady's eyes gradually became misty. Towards that hand, slowly. She stretched out her hand. Chapter 45-64. The young lady's fair fingers, under the vast whiteness, seemed to be plated with a layer of faint fluorescence. Slowly, it was placed into that invisible large palm. The fog spread, curling upwards like smoke. The young lady's hand came into contact with that large palm. Just as that large palm was about to hold the young lady's hand in the palm, the young lady suddenly moved. That soft and boneless little hand, her 5 fingers were like an eagle's claw, clasping that large palm. The young lady's pink lips curled slightly. When she raised her eyes, there was no longer any pain and confusion on her face. That large palm which was clasped by her, tried to retract in panic. But it was clasped tightly by the young lady, totally unable to move. Trying to escape. It's too late. Yiqing Luo gave a cold laugh, as a piercingly cold glint flashed past her eyes. She grabbed that large palm, pulling it hard, bringing along a vast profound glow, as though it was going to devour everything around it. You've been deliberately mystifying for such a long time, it's time for me to see your real face. Following her chilly voice rang the violent actions of the hand. The surrounding illusory environment started to crack, turning into pieces of broken pieces. Broken pieces. The owner of that hand, which was enveloped by the illusory fog, gradually revealed a shadow. A tall and straight figure. Similar to the palace lord of Seclusion Palace, he was covered in a black robe, totally unable to see that person's appearance. The mastermind of Seclusion Palace. That person who had been plotting against her secretly. Yiqing Luo's eyes turned cold, as her body suddenly dashed towards that side. The other hand, swiftly stretched out, tugging the other party's black robe. Her hand was just about to touch that figure's black robe. A bam sound was heard. A cold glint flashed past. That person actually directly chopped off that arm which was clasped tightly by Yiqing Luo. Immediately after, with a leap. Disappearing in the sky, in the midst of the broken pieces. Yiqing Luo. What the? This godly operation was simply too ruthless. Wasn't this fellow too ruthless towards himself? In order to maintain his mystery, he chopped it off. Yiqing Luo lowered her head, looking at that broken arm which was dripping with blood. He was speechless once more. She threw the severed arm to the ground. Motherf asterisk cur. Just a little bit more and he would know what the dark rat hiding in the dark looked like. It was difficult to get a field. Can't you stay a little longer? Don't you want to make a comeback by living in your lines forever? Hashtag complaints from the official site. Hashtag Yiqing Luo's heart felt worse than a husky. How could you not be affected? In the shattered space, a strange voice that was so deep that its gender and emotions could not be discerned drifted in from all directions. However, Yiqing Luo heard the bewilderment in that person's tone. She looked around her. It was impossible to determine the person's location from the direction of the voice. She narrowed her eyes and her lips curled into a cold arc. After fighting with you so many times, don't tell me you still don't understand that all the illusions you've created have no effect on me. Dmo Xian had reminded her right from the start to maintain her own consciousness. The moment she separated from Dmo Xian. Thus, she armed herself with armor. From the moment the hypnosis technique which bewitched her rang in her ears, she was already on her guard. Pretending to be fooled was just to force out the real mastermind. Ha! Ha ha ha! That illusory voice suddenly laughed. That sinister laughter was extremely treacherous and terrifying. Dear, this chapter has ended, I wish you a happy reading. Big smiley face. Chapter 45-65. Young lady. You're very confident. That cold voice seemed to be wrapped in frost. Confidence is a good thing, but blind confidence will only make you die faster. Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change, her slender brows raised slightly. This sentence, I'll return it to you. She paused, then her lips curled into a smile. I think, even if I'm really going to die, you won't bear to let me die. So, even if you die, I won't die. The surrounding air seemed to have condensed into frost. It was especially gloomy. After a long time, that cold voice sounded again. Young lady, you're very smart, but unfortunately, until now, you're still not able to understand the true meaning of the divine phoenix profound heart jade. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers gently pressed on her chest. Her pink lips curled slightly, as she asked with a smile that didn't look like a smile, so what? Even if I'm unable to understand it, this profound heart jade is ultimately mine. Even if you want it, you won't be able to get it. The Overlord isn't by your side, yet you still dare to be so arrogant. Aren't you afraid that this seat will take action personally? That cold voice revealed a threatening chill. Indistinctly, it was mixed with the excitement of meeting prey. Yiqing Luo's expression still didn't have much emotional changes. She gave a sarcastic smile. Oh. The person who just chopped off his own hand and ran away wasn't me. The voice stopped in an instant. A fragmented environment. Once again, it fell into dead silence. Yiqing Luo's eyelids drooped slightly, as she gazed at her own fingers pressing on her chest. Her long and narrow eyes were suffused with a faint glow. You set up this array, actually your motive is not only to obtain the blood-bone barbaric king's memories from my mind. Before you said that earlier, I was still thinking, what is your motive, the real motive of this array? Now, I can basically confirm it. That voice laughed lowly. Tell me about it. Yiqing Luo's finger tapped on her chest. If you wanted this divine phoenix profound heart jade, you had a huge chance to directly dig out the profound heart jade from my body, but you didn't. In addition to what the King of Darkness once said a long time ago, my body is the vessel for this profound phoenix heart jade. This also means that only I can nurture this divine phoenix profound heart jade. What you want isn't the current profound heart jade, but a profound heart jade that's been nourished by my body and has already completely matured. Yiqing Luo's voice paused for a moment as the corners of her mouth hooked up into an arc that seemed like a smile that wasn't a smile. You wanted to control my body countless times, wanted to turn me into your puppet countless times. The array this time, I'm afraid it's also for the sake of allowing me to comprehend the true meaning of the profound jade heart, to be used by you. Chapter 45-66. That voice was indifferent. Young lady, you can't even find where I am and you're still trying to leave the array. That person's words had just ended. Suddenly, the voice stopped abruptly. A piercingly cold murderous intent filled the sky and earth. A loud, bam, sound was heard. A black-robed figure was sent flying and fell to the ground. That black-robed man suddenly flipped over and leapt up from the ground. Turning his head back, he met with a pair of shimmering peach blossom eyes, black to the extreme, like a deep pool, filled with icy cold murderous intent. Dmo Xian. Black-robed man's hoarse voice spat out 3 words while gritting his teeth. That voice was sharp and piercing. The purple-robed man slowly landed next to Yiqing Luo. His magnificent looks looked down on all living beings. His long arm stretched out and pulled the young lady into his embrace. The elegant sandalwood scent and the man's warmth made Yiqing Luo's body and mind calm down. "Sorry, I'm late." The man's low and hoarse voice was mellow like fine wine. She could faintly hear the hoarseness in his voice. Yiqing Luo buried her head in his embrace as her little face rubbed against his chest. Not late, just in time to clarify the matter. She knew that Dmo Xian would try his best to find her. Even if the person behind the scenes from the Nether Palace had schemed to separate her and Dmo Xian. But between the profound Phoenix Ring and the profound Dragon Ring, there was an obvious connection. This meant that she and Dmo Xian were still in the same space. And they weren't too far away. Based on Dmo Xian's ability, seeing through the illusion and finding her was just a matter of time. Dmo Xian's brows sunk slightly as his chilly gaze shot towards the black-robed man not too far away, the person behind the scenes from the Nether Palace. Yiqing Luo popped out her little head and looked at the black-robed man. It shouldn't be his original body. This was an array set up by the Nether Palace. It belonged to an illusion space. Appearing here, other than the 2 of them who entered the array, were real people. The rest should be an illusion that was created. And this black-robed man in front of them, he should belong to the person behind the scenes from the Nether Palace. A strand of soul. That was why the mastermind of the Palace of Gloomy Darkness had cut off his arm without hesitation. At most, it would only affect the minds of the people behind the scenes of the Dark Palace a little. Smart. The person behind the scenes of the Gloomy Palace sneered. The person who was shrouded in a black mist of evil energy could not be seen at all. Yiqing Luo moved her finger. A feather fan slid out. She gently swayed, and the corners of her mouth rose into a cold arc. "I also know that this wisp of divine sense of yours is the key to breaking the formation." The laughter of the person behind the Palace of Darkness froze. Immediately after, the body shrouded by the sinister aura suddenly leaped into the crack in the space. Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian exchanged glances. The corners of his lips curled up. Immediately after, they leaped up and followed closely behind the figure covered in black fog. She was just saying it casually. The reaction of the person behind the Palace of Darkness gave her an accurate answer. Dmo Xian had already blocked in front of that black-robed man. The black-robed man wanted to retreat. But his path of retreat was blocked by Yiqing Luo. But moments later, they were already in a mess. In this array, the person behind the scenes of the Palace of Darkness was merely a strand of divine sense. Before he could withdraw, he was restrained by Dmo Xian. How could he be Dmo Xian's opponent? But after a few rounds, the person behind the scenes of the Palace of Darkness was already stepped on by Dmo Xian. The black robe which was shrouded around him fell onto the ground. However, the evil yin qi that lingered around that person's body was wrapped up tightly, making it impossible to see the person's face. End of this chapter. Chapter 45-67. Yiqing Luo walked up as she squinted her eyes, trying to wave away the sinister qi. But Dmo Xian grabbed her hand. "Don't touch." Yiqing Luo stared at that person. "I'm curious, does this sinister rat look like a protruding mouth and monkey cheeks?" "Young lady, this is just the beginning. You'd better pray that you will never understand the true meaning of the profound jade heart," the person behind the scenes of the Nether Palace said coldly. Under the thick black fog, she could vaguely feel a sharp gaze falling on her body. Apparently, the person behind the scenes was warning her. The moment she understood the true meaning of the profound jade heart, that was when he appeared. Yiqing Luo smiled, "Don't worry, when I understand the true meaning of the profound jade heart, you will not have the chance to get close to me." The person behind the scenes of the Nether Palace sneered. That foot which was stepping on her chest increased its strength as a warning to Yiqing Luo. The person behind the scenes laughed as he started coughing violently. "Hope you can continue to maintain this confidence. We shall see." As the cold voice of the person behind the scenes from the Palace of Darkness fell, the thick black yin qi around him abruptly bared its fangs and brandished its claws towards Dmo Xian's legs to twine around. Dmo Xian's eyes sunk as he quickly retracted his leg. Grabbing the young lady's slender waist, he leapt up. The sinister qi spread out in this shattered space. The dense black qi brought along a treacherous eeriness. It was this gap. The person behind the scenes of the Nether Palace suddenly plunged towards the shattered pieces not too far away. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled as a glint flashed past her eyes. Her fingertips flicked. The alluring red glow turned into a flowing light as it chased after the figure which had disappeared. Ah! A miserable shriek rang. The surrounding shattered space suddenly shook. The shattered pieces started to disintegrate. Sinister rat is just a sinister rat, trying to escape with your tail between your legs. The young lady's voice was arrogant and disdainful as she slowly kept her glower flame fan. Earlier when that person made use of the sinister qi to create trouble, she made use of the glower flame fan's energy to lock onto that person. If that person wanted to escape, the glower flame fan's energy would also chase after him. As the space fragment disintegrated, a ray of sunlight gradually appeared. It also revealed the surrounding desolate ruins. The formation was broken. Yiqing Luo raised her eyes and gazed not too far away, towards the direction where the profound rays were spreading. They should be over there. Dmo Xian held her in his arms and flew towards that direction. A great battle ensued. Yan Xiaoyi and the rest were all wounded. The Huangfu clan's troops obeyed Huangfu Dongyu's orders and continued to attack. The four of them fought side by side. A bunch of useless trash. Ren Jianying raised her head arrogantly and looked coldly at the four people who were covered in blood. It was hard to tell if they were themselves or someone else. Then, he leaped up and slashed at the four of them with his sword. The majestic profound light was accompanied by a sharp chill. Her target was Qiao Jin. Amidst the sharp profound light, there was also a dark aura that made one's hair stand on end. In the instant that he attacked Qiao Jin, the dark aura bared its fangs and brandished its claws, clawing at Qiao Jin's face. "Be careful." Yan Xiaoyi raised the blade of the black scythe and slashed out two black profound rays. Her body speedily dashed towards Qiao Jin. Her petite body blocked in front of Qiao Jin. Bam! The two profound rays were totally unable to stop Ren Jianying's attack. The profound rays landed. It fell straight onto Yan Xiaoyi's chest. A gush of blood instantly spurted out. The young lady's soft body crashed into Qiao Jin's arms. Chapter 45-68. Xiao Yi. Qiao Jin hugged the girl's slender body and roared out her name. Bright red blood dyed their robes red. The girl's pale lips were also stained with blood. A dark light flashed past Qiao Jin's eyes as he glared at Ren Jianying. Ren Jianying smirked, her face filled with viciousness and arrogance. "I wanted to leave it to them, but the Huangfu family is all trash. I don't have so much time to waste here." She waved the sword in her hand. The dark light merged with the dark evil energy, like a poisonous snake sticking out its scarlet tongue, making one shudder. On the other side, Huangfu Dongyu and Huangfu Fengyan, who were called trash by Ren Jianying, stared at Ren Jianying with ugly expressions. They felt indignant. But they didn't dare to retort. Ren Jianying glanced at Yan Shaoyi in disdain and smirked. Do you want to die together for love? I can grant you your wish. She leaped, the sword in her hand stirring up waves of wind. Boundless dark energy pressed forward like a hot knife through butter. Qiao Jin hugged Yan Shaoyi and stood there motionlessly. His head was lowered and his expression couldn't be seen clearly. They could only feel the anger emanating from his body. Ren Jianying sneered and didn't think much of it. The sword fell and the sword waves surged. The dark waves turned into turbulent waves and crashed down. Qiao Jin. Huangfu Xing wanted to rush forward and block this move for them. However, the Huangfu family's men had him and Gu Zixi locked down. The moment they moved, they were blocked by countless men. Bang! Ren Jianying's sword wave fell. The earth shook. Crushed stones flew and endless dark light seemed to be able to devour everything around it. The surging sword wave was like a tide. The violent attack engulfed everything in its surroundings. Qiao Jin's figure carrying Yan Shaoyi was instantly hidden between the sword wave and the dark light. Ha, weak! Ren Jianying snorted in disdain. Qiao Jin. Jin. Not far away, Long Yunzhan and the rest who rushed over saw this scene. Their eyes were bloodshot as they stared in disbelief at the scene before them being devoured by the dark aura and dark aura. When they sensed this scene, they were stunned. He rushed over as fast as he could. But, he still didn't make it in time. Each and every one of them stood rooted to the ground, staring blankly at the scene before them. The tyrannical profound radiance and yin evil chi formed a black vortex in midair. The surrounding air and the tumbling gravel were all quickly swept towards the vortex. Long Yunzhan's eyes were so blue that they were deep, like the surface of a lake, causing layers of huge waves. I'll go save them. Long Yunzhan's 5 fingers clenched tightly, unable to believe everything that he saw before his eyes. With a leap, he rushed towards the direction where Qiao Jin and Yan Shaoyi were being swallowed. Leader. Tong Ziqing hurriedly pulled him back and said with a trembling voice, Don't be impulsive, Jin Zi and Shaoyi wouldn't want to see you get hurt because of them. No one could determine just what kind of danger was hidden in the depths of that vortex. If they were to rush over there, not only would they not be able to save them, they might even lose their lives. Don't tell me. Don't tell me we're just going to stand by and watch. Long Yunzhan's eyes were filled with raging waves. His eyes were bloodshot red. Wait. Tong Ziqing suddenly saw something. Leader, look. Look over there. The few of them looked in the direction of Tong Ziqing. Chapter 45-69. Vaguely, 2 figures could be seen, faintly discernible. Immediately after, the dazzling golden light was like a sharp blade that quickly sliced apart the vortex. Evil energy surged. But as the golden light spread, everywhere it went, it was covered by the golden light. As the golden light became brighter, those 2 figures became more and more obvious. It's Qiao Jin. Huangfu Xing's eyes widened, exclaiming in joy. Under that majestic dark light, the faintly discernible figure, wasn't it Qiao Jin, and Yan Shaoyi in his arms? The 2 of them were fine. A dazzling golden light. It enveloped the 2 of them. They were completely protected within it. No matter how the sword waves surged. No matter how the vortex tsunami. No matter how close they were to the 2 of them. This scene caused Ren Jianying's expression to darken. Her eyes were sinister as she glanced at the 2 of them, who were unharmed. The long sword waved rapidly. Once again, she launched a brutal attack. The long sword fell. The shocking dark wave rolled like a tide. Like a bolt of lightning, unstoppable. Bang! Vaguely, Xiao Jin, who was under the golden light, slowly raised a hand. When the dark light collided, the entire space shook. But the person under the golden light did not move at all. The vortex, under the pressure of the golden light, gradually dissipated. The man, who was hugging the woman in his arms, slowly raised his head. That pair of golden eyes, which were so golden that they were without any impurities, was ice-cold. Golden eyes, you, the power of the Huangfu family. Ren Jianying's heart moved, her face revealing a rare panic. The Huangfu family, the purest golden eyes. They were simply the nightmare of the entire heavenly realm. People who possessed golden eyes, their strength could be called Tai. This Xiao Jin. He was actually from the Huangfu family, a person with such pure golden eyes. Can't be left alive. This person definitely can't be left alive. Ren Jianying suppressed the anger and restlessness in her heart. The sword light flipped, once again launching an even more fierce attack. When she attacked, her killing intent was awe-inspiring. Go! Long Yunzhan recovered from his surprise, seeing Ren Jianying's successive attacks becoming increasingly fierce. He immediately leaped up, charging towards Ren Jianying. Xiao Jin hugged the person in his arms tightly. He protected her tightly. He wouldn't let her get hurt in the slightest. His golden eyes reflected the girl's beautiful face. It was as if he was relying on his body's instincts to counterattack and attack. The only thought in his mind was to protect the person in his arms, protect her. I can't let her get hurt again. Ren Jianying's eyes darkened, and she looked at Long Yunzhan, who was not far away. She stepped back. He fiercely pulled Huangfu Fengyan over and threw her in Xiao Jin's direction. You guys actually didn't tell me that he is the true successor of the Huangfu clan. This is your Huangfu family's matter, you can settle it yourselves. Ah, Huangfu Fengyan had yet to react. He had already been thrown in front of Xiao Jin. When she met Xiao Jin's emotionless and pure golden eyes, her body went limp, and she screamed. He turned around, intending to flee. Xiao Jin stretched out his arm and grabbed onto Huangfu Fengyan's shoulder. His 5 fingers turned into eagle claws and directly pierced into Huangfu Fengyan's body. Fresh blood instantly dyed his hand red. Viscous blood dripped down. Xiao Jin seemed as if he didn't realize just how crazy his actions were. Just as he was about to directly pierce through her heart, the person in his arms, her fair little hands weakly grabbed onto Xiao Jin's wrist. It was just a light touch. Chapter 45-70. Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi. Xiao Jin's eyes were filled with joy and worry as he lowered his head to look at the person in his arms. How are you? Where do you feel uncomfortable? Yan Xiaoyi took a deep breath and smiled at him with difficulty. Don't let the dirty blood stain you. Xiao Jin's eyes widened. The person in his arms was smiling with great difficulty, but she still managed to maintain the smile on her face. Yan Xiaoyi's breathing paused as she shut her eyes tiredly. Ah Jin, I'm a little tired and want to rest for a while. Group leader and the rest are here and Qing Luo is also trying her best to find us. Be well, don't be stained by those dirty blood. Towards the end, Yan Xiaoyi's voice was almost unable to speak. Only the sound of air was left. She could feel that Xiao Jin had been controlled and dominated by those golden eyes. Xiao Jin. Almost subconsciously, he started a massacre. Especially when Huangfu Fengyan's blood spurted out. Xiao Jin's consciousness became increasingly chaotic. It was as if he was on the verge of exploding. This feeling made Yan Xiaoyi extremely uneasy. Even though she was in Xiao Jin's embrace, even though her face was reflected in his eyes, But she felt that the distance between her and Xiao Jin was getting further and further apart. This was not the first time she had seen Xiao Jin's golden eyes, but it was the first time she had such a feeling. I can't let him touch blood again. He would be enchanted by the golden eyes and lose himself. Xiao Jin hugged her gently as his pair of pure golden eyes were suffused with a faint golden glow. Don't sleep. Xiao Yi, don't sleep now, wait for Qing Luo to come, then you can rest. He sounded a little panicked. The emptiness in his eyes had been replaced by anxiety. Ha, you're still flirting with each other. Huang Fu Fingyan's eyes revealed an ominous glint that was filled with resentment. She covered the wound where blood was continuously seeping out and turned her hand into a sharp claw that was covered in a profound glow. Then, she forcefully slashed towards Xiao Jin. She hated Xiao Jin. He hated this person with the purest golden eyes. But Xiao Jin's attention was always on Yan Xiaoyi. Yan Xiaoyi could no longer hear his shouts. Xiao Jin's heart became increasingly flustered as he called out Yan Xiaoyi's name over and over again. The smile on Huang Fu Fingyan's face twisted in excitement. His 5 fingers that resembled an eagle's claw emitted waves of profound light that grew even more intense. Jinzi! Long Yunzhan bellowed angrily, and he already arrived in front of Xiao Jin. He raised his hand and grabbed Huang Fu Fingyan's wrist. Kacha! Huang Fu Fingyan's face turned pale as she miserably screamed. Long Yunzhan's palm slapped onto Huang Fu Fingyan's shoulder. He was sent flying. Huang Fu Fengyan rolled on the ground a few times before she could support her broken hand, which was contorted in pain. Long Yunzhan grabbed Xiao Jin's arm as a trace of anger surfaced on his cold face. Jin Zi. What the hell are you doing? It was as though Xiao Jin could not hear his words. He just lowered his head and repeatedly called Yan Xiaoyi's name. Long Yunzhan's lake-like eyes surged with great waves. Xiao Jin. His voice was deep and maddening. She placed her hands on Xiao Jin's shoulders and stared sternly into his pure golden eyes. Xiao Jin. Do you know exactly why Xiao Yi is lying in your embrace? Because she wants you to live. She doesn't want to see you get hurt. If you're killed, how are you going to protect her? Are you still worthy of her actions of sacrificing herself in order to protect you? Hurry up and read the latest updates. Chapter 45-71. Long Yunzhan had always been solemn and cold. It was rare to see him in such an irritable mood. Xiao Jin's pupils constricted slightly. He slowly raised his head and looked at Long Yunzhan as he called out in a hoarse voice, "Leader, it's fine as long as she wakes up. Don't disappoint Xiao Yi." Long Yunzhan let go of his shoulder and looked down at the person in his arms. Xiao Yi will only have time to heal after dealing with the matter in front of us. N. Xiao Jin replied in a hoarse voice as his golden eyes slowly looked around. The Huangfu family's troops all looked at Xiao Jin's golden eyes in shock. Their eyes were filled with uncontrollable reverence. As members of the Huangfu family, they naturally knew. The person with the purest golden eyes was the successor of the Huangfu family, their future master. Even the current patriarch of the Huangfu family only had a purer golden eye. What are you guys still standing there for? Hurry up and attack. Huangfu Dongyu saw that the Huangfu family's troops had the intention to retreat and immediately roared. He had a sinister expression as he shouted, "Didn't you see that he injured fourth young mistress? He's just trash that was removed from the Huangfu family. What can a pair of golden eyes represent? Has he made any contributions to the Huangfu family?" No. The Huangfu family's troops turned their heads to look at young Master Huangfu with hesitant expressions. They also knew that Huangfu Dongyu's words were very true. However, the thoughts that were deeply ingrained in them since they were young, pure golden eyes were equivalent to the thoughts of their future master, couldn't be erased. Xiao Jin. They retreated. None of the troops dared to make a move. Huangfu Dongyu roared a few more times. His face was flushed with anger. He flicked his sleeves and was about to ask Huangfu Qifei what to do. However, Huangfu Qifei had unknowingly picked up Ren Jianying's long sword and leaped into the midst of the Huangfu family's troops. The long sword waved. The sword wave was like a surging tide. Ah! Ah! Screams rose and fell, resounding throughout the entire space. The Huangfu family's troops instantly turned into dismembered corpses under the sword wave. Blood splattered and flesh flew. It was a cruel and bloody scene. Huangfu Dongyu's face instantly turned pale, and his voice couldn't help but tremble. Third brother, what are you doing? Those who don't listen, just kill them. Huangfu Qifei raised the long sword in his hand with a gentle smile on his gentle face. But the words that came out of his mouth were so cold that it made people shiver. The Huangfu family doesn't raise disobedient dogs, in case they bite us instead. Huangfu Dongyu shuddered and stared at Huangfu Qifei in disbelief. These were all old elites that had followed the Huangfu family for many years. Huangfu Qifei killed without hesitation. Chapter 45-72. Immediately, they trembled and expressed that they were definitely on their side. Huangfu Qifei's lips curled up in satisfaction as he gave the next order. In order to show that all of you are sincerely following me, kill Huangfu Dongyu now. Third brother. Are you crazy? Huangfu Dongyu did not expect that Huangfu Qifei would actually have the intention to kill him. Huangfu Qifei smiled. If I don't kill you, how can I legitimately become the master of the Huangfu family? He glanced at Huangfu Fengyan, who was covered in blood on the ground with disgust, and pulled the corners of his lips. To be honest, I've put up with all of you for a very long time. One is as dumb as a pig and still thinks that he's important all the time, as though everyone else is a fool. In reality, he's always being toyed with by others and is being used as a tool without knowing it. One is relying on his identity as the first young master of the Huangfu family and the fact that he's about to inherit the Huangfu family. He doesn't even think about us brothers and sisters. Huangfu Qifei scoffed. There's no such thing as feelings in the four great families. You. Huangfu Dongyu's face was pale. He clenched his fists tightly and looked at the people of the Huangfu family who were originally following his orders warily. A ruthless glint appeared in his eyes. I'm the first young master of the Huangfu family, the future successor of the Huangfu family. If all of you are still loyal to the Huangfu family, kill him now. He's killed so many people of the Huangfu family, so many elders who have been loyal to the Huangfu family for many years. He'll definitely kill all of you. All of you can only choose me now. Let's kill him together. However, no matter how he shouted, the people of the Huangfu family stood on Huangfu Qifei's side and approached him step by step. Huangfu Dongyu slowly retreated. The expression on his face became more and more panicked. On the other side, Ren Jianying's eyes were filled with disdain and mockery as she watched the scene of her brothers killing each other. She had only said a few words casually. She could easily provoke the ambition in Huangfu Qifei's heart. This feeling of controlling other people's lives was really great. She glanced at Xiao Jin and the others who had already gathered together, and the disdain on the corner of her lips became even more obvious. Suddenly, a violent explosion came from behind. Ren Jianying quickly turned around to look. The place where the palace master of secluded darkness palace was sitting exploded with profound waves. The ground collapsed into a huge black hole. The palace master of the Netherworld Palace knelt on one knee on the ground and stared blankly at the direction of the explosion. There seemed to be some kind of emotion surging in his eyes under the black robe. Lord Palace Master. Ren Jianying hurriedly jogged forward and put on a concerned expression. Chapter 45-73. She was, after all, a beauty that all men would be attracted to. She was also very clear about what she looked like the most. What actions could attract men the most? However, this palace master of the secluded palace didn't have any thoughts about her at all. One day, she would make the palace master of the secluded palace bow down to her. Rin Jianying calmed herself down. Her gaze landed on the black hole below. She seemed to have seen. The palace master of the secluded palace took out the mirror fragment from the black hole. The palace master of the secluded palace sat there, staring at the mirror. The explosion just now was because the mirror broke. How could that mirror break? Qiao Jin hugged Yan Xiaoyi and stood there silently. Huangfu Sheng and Gu Zishi supported each other and stood beside them. Looking at the front, the Huangfu family people surrounded Huangfu Dongyu. Gu Zishi sneered, "I knew that third young master Huangfu wasn't a good person, now he's showing his ambition." Huangfu Sheng caressed Gu Zishi's hand and looked at Long Yunzhan. "Why don't we take this chance to go to the Huangfu family?" Qiao Jin's mother was still imprisoned in the Huangfu family. And the old man. Once Huangfu Qifei gained power. With Huangfu Qifei's ruthlessness, Huangfu Qifei would definitely kill old man Huangfu and Qiao Jin's mother. Long Yunzhan looked at Rin Jianying, his cold face emotionless. "You guys go first, Ziqing and I will deal with the Ren family people. Rin Jianying has cooperated with the secluded palace. Her current strength is far above us, you guys might not be her match." Huangfu Sheng shook his head worriedly. "I will stop her, you guys go to the Huangfu family." "Don't talk nonsense, I told you to go." Long Yunzhan looked at him indifferently, then flew towards Rin Jianying's direction. "Wait! Look over there!" Suddenly, Gu Zishi exclaimed. Long Yunzhan and Tong Ziqing paused. They looked towards Gu Zishi's direction. Huangfu Dongyu was still trying to use a bigger temptation to convince the Huangfu family people. However, the eyes of the Huangfu clan's group were filled with killing intent. One of the older elders looked at Huangfu Dongyu and said, "Eldest young master, in terms of strength and talent, you're indeed inferior to third young master. Handing the Huangfu clan over to third young master is the best choice. Eldest young master, just obediently accept your death. In the future, under the leadership of the third young master, the Huangfu family will once again ascend to the peak, and you will be able to obtain a good reputation." After the old man finished speaking, some of the younger people behind him chimed in. Huangfu Dongyu's face was as pale as a sheet of paper. He glared at the people in front of him with hatred before glaring in Huangfu Qifei's direction. Are you going to betray the Huangfu clan?" Chapter 45-74. Suddenly, a gush of devilish glow burst out from Huangfu Dongyu's body. The 20 over people who were crowding around started to cry out in pain as they fell onto the ground. The dark glow flickered. A slender figure could be seen faintly. Under the devilish glow, her dress fluttered in the wind. Like an excited fire elite. Noble and disdainful, it made one feel an inexplicable chill. Huangfu Dongyu waited for a long time but didn't feel the pain that he had imagined. He cautiously opened his eyes. He saw a figure which almost dyed his eyes red standing in front of him. Her entire body seemed as though it was plated with a layer of pure holy light. His pupils suddenly constricted. His heart felt as though it was being strangled by something. Who is it? Huangfu family's men fell onto the ground. Clutching their chests in pain, they started to climb up and shouted angrily. When their gazes saw that red-robed young lady, a sliver of panic flashed past their expressions. Gu, eldest young miss of Gu residence. It's eldest young miss of Gu residence. The crowd cried out that young lady's name. Eldest young miss of Gu residence. Yi Qing Luo. When Huangfu Dongyu heard this name, he was stunned. Yi Qing Luo would save him. Yi Qing Luo would actually save him. No. This was impossible. How could the lady in front of him be Yi Qing Luo? Huangfu Dongyu staggered up from the ground as he looked at the young lady in front of him in a daze. Until he saw the young lady's face clearly. He then believed. The person in front of him was Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo stood elegantly in front of Huangfu Dongyu. The expression on her face was indifferent without any extra emotions. A pair of long and narrow eyes casually swept across the group of people from the Huangfu clan, and the corner of her mouth curled into a cold arc that seemed to be a smile that wasn't a smile. Yi Qing Luo. Huangfu Chi Fei saw the person who suddenly appeared and his expression sunk. You. How did you? Didn't Patriarch Ren say? Yi Qing Luo had already fallen into the array which she had set up long ago. And also vowed that even if the Overlord was around, Yi Qing Luo would absolutely not be able to escape from the array. Why? Did Yi Qing Luo coincidentally appear here? In the face of Huangfu Chi Fei's doubtful and interrogative gaze, Ren Jianying was also shocked. Her eyes widened as she looked at Yi Qing Luo in astonishment. The expression on his face alternated between green and red. He suddenly thought of the scene where the palace master of the gloomy palace's mirror cracked and he left in anger. Could it be that? When the mirror's surface cracked, it represented that the array had been broken by Yi Qing Luo? Ren Jianying's face darkened, and her eyes were filled with hostility. The palace of gloomy darkness was also unreliable. She really thought that it was foolproof. Unexpectedly, how long had he trapped Yi Qing Luo for? The array was broken by Yi Qing Luo. Ren Jianying clenched her slender fingers, and her eyes were filled with venom. Amidst the brilliance, she kept searching for ways to kill Yi Qing Luo in her mind. As for me, what I hate the most are disloyal dogs. The girl's lazy voice sounded leisurely. Her brows raised slightly as she glanced indifferently at the Huangfu family's direction. Following that, her gaze fell onto the astonished Huangfu Dongyu. Don't misunderstand, I don't want to help you. I just don't see eye to eye with them, so I conveniently took action. Huangfu Dongyu stared blankly at the young lady's exquisite face. Your gaze is rather disgusting, if you keep looking. Don't blame me for digging your eyes out. Yi Qing Luo said coldly. End of this chapter. Chapter 45-75. This baby was a married woman. Especially her husband, he was a huge vinegar jar. Being stared at by Huangfu Dongyu. He was jealous to the extent of being unreasonable. Huangfu Dongyu's eyes flashed as he swiftly shifted his gaze away, stammering, no matter what, I still have to thank you. No need. Yi Qing Luo waved her hand, not even glancing at him from the corner of her eyes as she walked past him, striding towards the direction of Long Yunzhan and the others. Huangfu Dongyu was still in a daze. This feeling of escaping from death made him feel a sense of exhaustion from being overly anxious. But the surrounding Huangfu family's men made him forcibly hold on to his willpower, tensing up his emotions as he stood there. Yi Qing Luo walked to the side of Long Yunzhan and the others who were similarly in a daze. Qiao Jin was the first to react. He carried Yan Xiaoyi as he rushed to Yi Qing Luo. Qing Luo, earlier Xiaoyi helped me to block a strike. Take a look at her injuries. Has the profound yin qi entered her body? His tone was filled with anxiety. Yi Qing Luo took a look at the person in his arms. The lady's delicate face was pale. Even his lips did not have the slightest trace of blood. But the lady's brows were flat without any wrinkles. Yi Qing Luo comforted, there shouldn't be any profound yin qi. She held Yan Xiaoyi's wrist, lay Xiaoyi flat on the ground first. Qiao Jin did as he was told. Yi Qing Luo took Yan Xiaoyi's pulse. Don't worry, she only suffered some internal injuries and will recover after some recuperation. Feed her a medicinal pill first. Yi Qing Luo took out a medicinal bottle from the profound phoenix ring. With Yi Qing Luo's words, Qiao Jin's creased brows finally eased up a little. He heaved a sigh of relief as he received the medicinal bottle in a flurry. His hand which was holding the medicinal pill was still trembling. Qing Luo, are you all right? Where's the overlord? Gu Zixi and Tong Zi Qing spoke in unison as they welcomed her, their faces filled with concern. What can happen to me? It's just a trick that the secluded palace often plays. Yi Qing Luo smiled at the both of them. Earlier when we rushed over, we discovered another wave of energy. After leaving this mountain, he chased up to check out the situation. According to her analysis, the wave of power that left, they should be from the dark nether palace. The consciousness of the person behind the gloomy palace could enter the formation. This meant that the person was nearby. So Dmo Xian followed the source of the energy and chased after it. If the power that left was really the mastermind behind the dark nether palace, he would tell her through the netherworld phoenix ring and the netherworld dragon ring. The few of them chatted as if they were strolling around the lake. He was very relaxed and indifferent. He completely disregarded the blood that filled the sky. Ren Jianying stared at Yi Qing Luo with a gaze filled with venom and unwillingness. Yi Qing Luo knew her secret. She absolutely could not let Yi Qing Luo live. A vicious light flashed in her eyes as she shouted fiercely, "Huangfu Qifei, what are you still standing there for? Kill her while Dizun is not here." The commanding tone caused Huangfu Qifei's brows to knit together slightly. But it was only for a moment. He lowered his eyelids as his voice was gentle. "Patriarch Ren, if I kill her and the overlord blames me, what should I do? Aren't there two ready-made scapegoats over there? What are you afraid of? Based on your intellect, pushing Yi Qing Luo's death onto them isn't difficult, right?" Ren Jianying's voice became deeper and more venomous. "If you don't take action now, you won't have this chance anymore." Huangfu Qifei's expression didn't change as his lips curled upwards as he smiled warmly. "Patriarch Ren, on this mountain, everyone is my Huangfu family's men, and Patriarch Ren, you are alone." End of this chapter. Chapter 45-76. Ren Jianying's expression changed. "What do you mean?" Huangfu Qifei's smile didn't diminish in the slightest. "Patriarch Ren is extremely intelligent. How could you not understand what I mean?" "Huangfu Qifei, how ambitious of you." Ren Jianying stared at Huangfu Qifei with a mocking sneer on her gorgeous face. He seemed to be ridiculing Huangfu Qifei's audacity. Huangfu Qifei only thought that she was struggling on her deathbed. When it comes to ambition, we are about the same. Isn't everything we've done just to fulfill our ambitions? Ren Jianying raised her head slightly, revealing her fair neck. "Do you think you can be my opponent? I might not be your match, but I am the one with the advantage in numbers." Huangfu Qifei walked slowly towards Ren Jianying. "Patriarch Ren, if you're able to be obedient, then the cooperation between us can still continue." Ren Jianying did not avoid it. He stood there with a faint smile on his face. His face was filled with arrogance, as if expressing extreme disdain towards Huangfu Qifei's words. "Third young master Huangfu, no matter what you do, don't be too absolute. It's good that you're confident, but sometimes, it can easily turn into conceit." Huangfu Qifei's footsteps slightly stopped on the spot. The two looked at each other. The space between the two seemed to be surging with some kind of turbulent waves. It was like a surging tide. Not far away, Qiao Jin glanced at Huangfu Dongyu. "Why did you save him? If he's dead, he's dead." Yi Qing Luo raised her lower lip. "This third brother of yours is really conceited. He's not my brother." Qiao Jin's face turned cold, and he looked at Huangfu Qifei with disdain. "He thinks that he is talented and strong, but in reality, he doesn't have anything worth showing off." Yi Qing Luo laughed softly, so. Leaving Huangfu Dongyu alive and letting them fight amongst themselves, isn't that better? She really didn't want to ridicule Huangfu Qifei. He could only say, there was a hole in Huangfu Qifei's brain. Under such circumstances, he actually still had the mood to cause internal strife. After fighting with Huangfu Dongyu, he went to fight with Ren Jianying. Did he really think of himself as a god? If it was her. Even if he was ambitious, she wouldn't show it now. At the very least, they should have waited until they were united against the foreign enemies and dealt with the first wave of enemies before slowly starting their internal strife. Now, there was internal strife at the slightest disagreement. After they were done killing each other, she had already slipped away with a bunch of brothers, okay? There must be a hole in his brain. She spared Huangfu Dongyu's life. After Huangfu Dongyu found out about Huangfu Qifei's true identity, coupled with the thrilling escape from death just now, presumably, he would retaliate against Huangfu Qifei. And now, Huangfu Qifei courted death by arguing with Ren Jianying. Given Ren Jianying's personality, she would probably teach him a lesson at any moment. TSK, what a great show. They should just sit back and watch the crowd. Everything was as Yi Qing Luo had expected. Ren Jianying was indeed teaching Huangfu Qifei how to behave in a matter of minutes. Huangfu Qifei's awe-inspiring display didn't last more than 3 seconds before he was already held between Ren Jianying's 5 fingers. A dagger slid across Huangfu Qifei's neck. It scared Huangfu Qifei so much that his face turned pale, totally unable to maintain his gentleness. Ren Jianying sneered as her lips curled up. Now, are you going to listen to me obediently or am I going to listen to you obediently? Huangfu Qifei's neck felt a piercing pain and he could feel blood oozing out. Chapter 45-77. Yi Qing Luo's lips twitched as she spat out a word in disdain, coward. Huangfu Qifei's begging words came to a halt. His pale face was stained with a shade of red. It was a flush of embarrassment and anger. He stared fiercely at Yi Qing Luo. But he was restrained by Ren Jianying's hand. The show was pressed against his neck, there wasn't much deterrence. Ren Jianying didn't look at Yi Qing Luo as she arrogantly curled her lips and looked at Huangfu Qifei, shaking her head. Not the Ren family, it's me, Ren Jianying. Huangfu Qifei's pupils shook violently. He naturally understood Ren Jianying's meaning. Not the Ren family. It was her, Ren Jianying. Which meant Ren Jianying's ambition was much bigger than what he had imagined. Ren Jianying wasn't doing this for the Ren family. She had a bigger target. Thinking of earlier, he had not even made a move and was already subdued by Ren Jianying. His heart skipped a beat. Yes, the Huangfu family will definitely follow eldest Missy Ren's lead. Huangfu Qifei was indeed an intelligent man. At this moment, he had made his choice very clearly. What ambition, what unyielding character. None of them were as important as his life. Ren Jianying wasn't afraid that Huangfu Qifei would betray her as she directly threw him aside. Casually, she threw the show onto the ground. The show was thrown on the ground. The gaze she shot towards Huangfu Qifei was filled with disdain. Do you know what to do? Huangfu Qifei held onto his bleeding neck as he stood up with a pale face. Yes. Huangfu Qifei held onto his bleeding neck as he stood up with a pale face. Yes. This time, he had no chance to retreat. He was utterly defeated. Huangfu Qifei took a deep breath. He turned his gaze towards the crowd, Yi Qing Luo and the rest. He pursed his thin lips as he lifted his feet and walked towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. He didn't know if it was an illusion. The moment he moved, a cold glint flashed across his eyes. It was as though a strange, indescribable smile had appeared on Ren Jianying's face. As though she was plotting something. Huangfu Qifei felt a chill down his spine. Looking at Yiqing Luo's direction, he suddenly felt as if he had stepped into the path of hell. Huangfu Dongyu. Suddenly, the girl opposite him shouted at the top of her lungs. Immediately, the noisy space quietened down. Huangfu Dongyu looked at Yiqing Luo in a daze. Yiqing Luo waved at him and pointed at Huangfu Qifei. The main culprit who wanted to kill you is right here. Don't you intend to take revenge? Everyone, it turned out that she had saved Huangfu Dongyu. Just to let Huangfu Dongyu restrain Huangfu Qifei. Alright, this move was indeed ruthless. It was indeed very practical. Because, after Yiqing Luo hauled out, Huangfu Dongyu sprinted over. He seemed as if he wanted to take Huangfu Qifei down with him. Yiqing Luo turned her head towards Qiao Jin and winked at him. See that, the reason why I saved him. Qiao Jin. Just say it directly if you're lazy, stop finding excuses. Yiqing Luo's fingertips brushed past the azure aqua ring on her hand. A wisp of red light shot out from her fingertip. The faint light encircled Yan Xiao Yi and the rest, and after one round, she curled her lips. I'm going to play with eldest Miss Ren, just take care of yourselves. She was just about to move. Long Yunzhan pulled her arm. That Ren Jianying doesn't look right, I'll go with you. The young man's expressionless face had a pair of azure blue eyes, but it was filled with concern. Dear, this chapter has ended, I wish you a happy reading. Big smiley face. Chapter 45-78. She smiled and placed his hand into Tong Ziqing's. Just take good care of Ziqing, I am just going over to play. Saying that, she flew towards Ren Jianying's direction. But she discovered that Ren Jianying was speedily retreating backwards. The gaze which she shot towards her was filled with gloating over her misfortune. Ren Jianying's speed was extremely fast. In just a blink of an eye, she had already left this mountain. Her speed was so fast as though there was some kind of dreadful beast in this mountain. Yiqing Luo's footsteps paused. Her heart inexplicably surged with an ominous premonition. Thinking of earlier, Ren Jianying revealed a strange smile. Her heart thumped furiously. Not good. Everyone leave quickly. She shouted loudly as she turned her head back and shouted at the brothers behind her. Just as she turned around. Just a breath's time. Suddenly, a deafening roar resounded in his ears. Bam! Rumble. The earth quaked and the mountains shook violently, forming a huge whirlpool. The booming sound almost engulfed everyone on the mountain range. Huangfu family's men immediately cried out miserably. All of them wanted to avoid the earth quaking and the mountains shaking. But just as they were about to move, they were crushed to death by the huge rocks which swarmed downwards. Large pieces of gravel and rocks tumbled down with a crackling sound. This collapsing feeling was totally different from the feeling of falling into the array earlier. It was the surrounding space which had started to shatter. As though it could destroy the heaven and earth, a huge energy swept across the entire heaven and earth. Yiqing Luo's face turned slightly pale as she speedily released the god relic's energy to consolidate the barrier which she had set up for Yan Xiao Yi and the others. She stretched out her hand to pull Long Yunzhan. Zhan. Let's go first. This place had been a trap right from the start. Ren Jianying was planning to let all of them die here. First, she used the secluded palace's array to trap her and Dmo Xian in the array. Then she lured Huangfu Xing, Qiao Jin and the others to this mountain peak. When the right time was right, she would bury all of them in the mountain peak in one fell swoop. This was the forbidden art of space destruction. Ren Jianying wanted to destroy this place. If they continued to stay here, they would all be destroyed by these vortexes. He did not expect Ren Jianying to use such a sinister method. Yiqing Luo tugged on Long Yunjian's hand but was unable to move him. She frowned and looked at Long Yunjian. Ah, Jian. She tugged at Long Yunjian again. However, Long Yunjian stood there stiffly, not moving at all. A pair of azure lake-like eyes stared at Yiqing Luo without blinking. There were ripples in his eyes, but it was impossible to see what he was feeling. Yiqing Luo felt a little strange but didn't think too much about it. He just passed Long Yunjian's hand to Tong Ziqing's. He then squinted his eyes and turned around to look at the sky full of flying sand, giant rocks rolling down, and the space being swallowed by the whirlpool. Ziqing, take Jian and leave. Qing Luo, be careful. Before she could finish her sentence, he was interrupted by Tong Ziqing's hurried and frightened voice. Yiqing Luo acutely sensed a fierce murderous intent coming from her back. She frowned and quickly tried to dodge. Before he could turn his head, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his shoulder. The sharp blade directly pierced into her body. She gave a dull moan, and as her 5 fingers moved, the glower flame fan opened up and speedily drew out a demonic profound ray, striking fiercely towards the direction where the murderous intent came from. However, when she turned around and saw the silhouette clearly, she was stunned. Her hand movements suddenly stopped. Her profound energy was also restrained. She looked at the person in front of her in disbelief. Chapter 45-79. A youth with black hair and blue eyes held a sharp long sword in his hand. On the blade of the sword, fresh blood dripped down drop by drop. He stood there, looking at her expressionlessly. Between his brows, there was an icy coldness. Yiqing Luo stopped her attack as her body swayed slightly. Blood seeped out of her shoulder. She felt a sharp pain when she moved, causing her facial features to wrinkle slightly. Leader. Tong Ziqing hugged Long Yunjian's arm, her eyes filled with disbelief. What are you doing? She saw it with her own eyes. At the instant when Yiqing Luo turned around, Long Yunjian picked up his weapon and stabbed towards her back. If it wasn't for the fact that Yiqing Luo managed to dodge in time, that sword would probably pierce through Yiqing Luo's heart. How could Long Yunjian possibly make a move on Yiqing Luo? What was going on? Tong Ziqing's mind was in a mess. She held Long Yunjian's hand tightly and shouted his name loudly. However, in the next instant, Long Yunjian just waved his arm expressionlessly. He threw Tong Ziqing out. He brandished his long sword once again, chopping down horizontally towards Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo's shoulders were still throbbing in pain. The deafening vibrations and the violent shaking continued. An endless whirlpool. It was already expanding. It was as if it was going to swallow everything in this space. She couldn't avoid it. He couldn't avoid it either. Yiqing Luo's breathing was tight, her pale face was dripping with sweat. Just as Long Yunjian's sword wave arrived, a warm and large palm clasped her shoulder. The next moment, her waist tightened. She was pulled into a warm embrace. That kind of warmth was different from Dmo Xian. However, it made her feel inexplicably at ease. In her ears, she could vaguely hear the man's deep voice, "This place is about to be devoured. Let's leave first." The dizziness from the blood loss made Yiqing Luo a little dizzy. She clutched the man's robe tightly and said with difficulty, "No. They. And them, I don't care so much." The man ignored Yiqing Luo's words. He picked up the person and flew away. By the time Yiqing Luo regained consciousness, she was in one of the darker rooms. The room was shabby and built with thatch. But the mattress she was sleeping on was of the best quality. Soft and comfortable. Yiqing Luo surveyed her surroundings and wanted to get up. However, the sharp pain from her shoulder caused her face to instantly turn pale. It was as if something was tearing at her flesh. What was going on? Yiqing Luo panted heavily as she laid back on the bed, not daring to move. She was not a delicate person. But this kind of pain, even she was somewhat unable to endure it, so one could imagine exactly how painful this kind of pain was. She closed her eyes and tried to calm herself down. Right now, she should have already left that mountain range. It was the man who suddenly appeared and took her away from there. But what about her brothers? Yiqing Luo's breathing congealed as waves of dull pain came from her chest, making her unable to maintain her composure to think. Perhaps he heard the commotion in the room. The tightly shut door was pushed open. A ray of light spilled into the room. A long shadow was cast down. The elongated shadow happened to be imprinted on Yiqing Luo's face. Yiqing Luo slowly moved her head and shifted her gaze towards that side. She saw the man standing against the light. His tall and straight figure was dressed in a black robe and his face was handsome. That pair of eyes which didn't show any emotions faintly floated with light. Yiqing Luo's pupils shrank slightly. Chapter 4580. It's you. She opened her mouth, her voice was hoarse and a little painful. The man strode over, half squatted by the bedside, poured a cup of warm water and carefully fed it into her mouth. Yiqing Luo's eyes widened as she looked at him in a daze. Her throat swallowed the water spontaneously. A cup of warm water entered her stomach. Her throat finally cleared up a lot. She coughed, causing the wound on her shoulder to hurt. She stared intently at the man in front of her. Why are you here? To save you. The man sat next to her and replied calmly. What do you mean? Yiqing Luo frowned. You specially came to save me. How could he be so sure that she would be injured? And what's more, he coincidentally appeared here. Facing Yiqing Luo's suspicion, the man's expression didn't fluctuate. I heard their plan in the secluded palace, so I rushed over. He paused. I made it in time and saved you. Yiqing Luo's pink lips tightly pursed into a straight line. After you brought me to the heaven realm, you threw your hands away and left. Now you dare to stand in front of me. You must feel that I'm injured now and can't do anything to you, right? Yes. The man in front of her was the one who brought her to the heaven realm, Bloodbone Barbaric King. Facing the Bloodbone Barbaric King, Yiqing Luo's feelings were very complicated. She didn't know what attitude she should use to face him. In the Earth realm, she and the Bloodbone Barbaric King could be considered as enemies. After all, he was the mastermind behind the Linglong Palace. And without any explanation, he kidnapped her to the heaven realm. Although, after knowing her real identity, he had never had any thoughts of hurting her. Plus, later on, she knew the deepest secret in his memory. Knew that he had such deep feelings for the Emperor of God Emperors, which was also her biological mother. Knew that in order to protect her in Feng Ji's womb, he had sacrificed everything. Knew that he had risked his life to protect her, until he was sealed. And still wanted to protect her. Yiqing Luo really couldn't hate the Bloodbone Barbaric King, nor could she blame him. I have something urgent to deal with. The Bloodbone Barbaric King explained dryly. Yiqing Luo sneered, in a hurry to deal with me with the secluded palace. No. The Barbaric Bloodbone King shook his head. After meeting Yiqing Luo's burning gaze, he slowly shifted his vision away. As though he was looking at Yiqing Luo's face. He would recall the shadow of the person buried in the deepest part of his memory. The palace of gloomy darkness lied to me. He pursed his lips, lowered his head, and apologized. I'm sorry. Because of me, you told the Palace of Darkness the secret of your divine phoenix profound heart jade and the secret that Feng Ge left on you. If it weren't for him, the entire heaven realm would not treat Yi Qing Luo as a prey. Yi Qing Luo wouldn't have met with such a situation. I can understand that you know the secret of the divine phoenix profound heart jade, but why do you say, the clue to my mother's grave is with me? Yi Qing Luo had always been puzzled by this question. The barbaric Bloodbone King raised his eyebrows slightly. You still don't know? Yi Qing Luo expressed her doubts. The barbaric Bloodbone King's eyes darkened and he asked tentatively, have you ever seen a piece of skin that looks like paper with a very complicated topographic map drawn on it? Yi Qing Luo blinked her eyes and was even more puzzled. What topographic map? The barbaric Bloodbone King looked at Yi Qing Luo for some time and shook his head. Nothing, I misunderstood. He lowered his brows slightly, but I'm afraid the entire upper realm will not believe that you don't know about the so-called profound flame Tianshu diagram. Chapter 4581. It was indeed the Tianshu map. Yi Qing Luo's heart skipped a beat. But she didn't show any unusual expression on her face. Even if she knew the barbaric Blood King's feelings for Feng Ge, she also believed that the barbaric Blood King had no ill intentions towards her. But the Tianshu map was related to too many complicated things. Ah Xian had said this before. No matter who it was, they had to keep the secret of the Tianshu map. Even if it was the barbaric Blood King, she didn't intend to say it out. But what she didn't expect was that her mother from Three Springs sect left her the map that Yi Tianquang had been longing for. It was the topographic map of the Divine Emperor's tomb. No wonder she and old man Tsang felt that the map was too complicated. How could the map of the Divine Emperor's tomb not be complicated? Her mind was in turmoil. Yi Qing Luo's face was filled with confusion. What is the Tianshu map? That is the map to the Divine Emperor's tomb, and also an analysis of the interior of the tomb. The barbaric Blood King explained, I thought that Feng Ge would have arranged everything before she passed away. Mother has already passed away for tens of thousands of years. Why are there still so many people who want to find the whereabouts of the Divine Emperor's tomb? Yi Qing Luo's eyes were deep. If the people in the heaven realm were interested in this, it could be explained by the fact that there were countless treasures buried with the Divine Emperor in the tomb of the Divine Emperor. But why would the person behind the Nether Palace be interested in the Divine Emperor's tomb? Based on the strength of the person behind the Nether Palace. To be able to stir up a bloodbath in all the major realms and still remain unscathed, that was enough to show that person's strength. Why did they have to scheme against her? They wanted the divine phoenix profound heart jade in her body and wanted to know the whereabouts of the Divine Emperor's tomb. Alright, you don't need to think too much about these things. The barbaric Blood King interrupted Yi Qing Luo's deep thoughts. The most important thing for you now is to heal your injuries, lest they spread and turn you into a puppet. Yi Qing Luo gathered her thoughts and was stunned when she heard the barbaric Blood King's words, my injuries. What happened? What do you mean by turning me into a puppet? I don't know what the Dark Palace did to the weapon that injured you, but they followed the weapon and entered your body, trying to take control of your body. The Bloodbone Barbaric King's gaze fell on her bandaged shoulder. This thing is similar to a goo worm, but it is not a living goo. No wonder, even now, she would convulse in pain whenever she moved. Tampering, take control of her body, damn it. It sounded like the style of the Dark Palace. That kind of rat hiding in the dark only knew how to play this kind of trick. Ah Jean, she thought of the expressionless Long Yun Jean stabbing the sword into her shoulder. Yi Qing Luo felt a dull pain in her heart. She really couldn't tell if Long Yun Jean had done such a thing because he was being controlled by the Dark Palace, or was it because that was what he wanted? Because it was on Long Yun Jean. She did not sense any aura of the Dark Nether Palace. His emotionless eyes did not have the dullness and lifelessness of being controlled by the palace of darkness. She even saw Long Yun-jan's thin lips curling up slightly. She clenched her fingers. Then my injury, can it be healed? I don't know. The barbaric blood king was very honest. This god can only temporarily suppress that evil chi and the speed of its growth. As for the real solution, I'm not sure yet. Yi Qing Luo. Could it be that she could only choose to wait for death? This god is unable to bring you to seek a doctor, so we can only slowly explore. The barbaric blood king said. 11. Chapter 4582. Now everyone in the upper realm had treated Yi Qing Luo as a piece of delicious meat. If they knew her whereabouts, wouldn't they flatten this thatched cottage? Her injury. How was she going to recover? Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips tightly and asked again, how long have I slept here? Not long, 2 days. Bloodbone Barbaric King replied, such a serious injury, you're considered to have woken up early. Yi Qing Luo's face turned slightly pale, then. After you saved me, did you return to look for my brothers? Bloodbone Barbaric King shook his head, no, when I brought you away, that place was already on the verge of collapsing. If we were any later, we would have been swallowed by the whirlpool inside. Yi Qing Luo abruptly sat up from the bed. The sharp pain in her shoulder made her face scrunch up tightly because of the pain. She gritted her teeth to bear with the pain and got down from the bed. They won't be swallowed. I want to go back. Don't be rash. Bloodbone Barbaric King stretched out his hand to stop her from moving. The wound on her shoulder and the sharp pain of something cutting her flesh made Yi Qing Luo unable to avoid Bloodbone Barbaric King's obstruction. Bloodbone Barbaric King pressed her back onto the bed as his face turned slightly cold. Even if you go like this, what can you do? Will they be safe and sound? Yi Qing Luo bit her lips tightly as her face turned slightly pale. Her long and narrow eyes seemed to be filled with ice. Bloodbone Barbaric King remained unmoved as he continued to reason with her. Do you know the situation you're in now? Based on your understanding of the secluded palace, don't tell me you can't guess. Based on their understanding of you, they know that you care about your brothers. Once you return to that place, what awaits you is an inescapable trap. Based on your current state, do you think you can still turn danger into safety? Bloodbone Barbaric King's handsome face became more and more solemn. The 5 fingers which were pressing on Yi Qing Luo's arm tightened. Qing Luo, you're not so lucky every time. Feng Gu was willing to use his entire life's energy in exchange for a lifetime of peace for you to survive, not for you to squander it like this. When mentioning Feng Gu, Bloodbone Barbaric King's face seemed to be struggling slightly, as though he was restraining his own pain. If I can save him, I will. Do you understand? The man's hoarse voice trembled slightly. Yi Qing Luo's pupils contracted slightly. His grip on her arm was very heavy. But it wasn't particularly painful. She could feel his emotions from his trembling fingertips. Yi Qing Luo's eyes gradually sunk. There wasn't much light in her eyes. It was very bleak. Her whole body also weakly collapsed on the bed. The barbaric Bloodbone King seemed to have suddenly regained his senses as he hurriedly let go of her arms and straightened his body. I just don't want you to do anything wrong. Your life was exchanged with Feng Ji's life. Yi Qing Luo lay on the bed in a daze. His eyes were wide open. He just stared at the thatched roof. The Bloodbone Barbarian King opened his mouth, wanting to say something. But when he was about to say it, he pursed his lips. He did not speak again. He sat quietly on the edge of the bed. He knew that based on Yi Qing Luo's character, she would definitely not be able to accept this fact in a short period of time. But it had already happened. No matter how hard she tried, there was no way to change the truth. What's more, her current injury still had no way to resolve it. Suddenly, Yi-Ching Luo's slightly hoarse voice spoke faintly, Don't you hate my mother? Bloodbone barbaric king had suffered so much pain and had fallen to such a state. It was all because of that Feng Gu, wasn't it? Chapter 4583. He still remembered the first time he met the bloodbone barbaric king. Dmo Xian exposed his identity. When he mentioned Feng Gu, his mouth was calling her a slut. But now, there was a change in his attitude. Bloodbone barbaric king's body stiffened slightly as he lowered his eyelids and pursed his lips. No. Is it because you've finally come to your senses and know that you've misunderstood her? Yi-Ching Luo's lips curled into a cold arc. Bloodbone barbaric king was stunned. You know about it. I've seen your memories, what else do I not know? Yi-Ching Luo glanced sideways at him, her eyes filled with ridicule. Bloodbone barbaric king didn't reply. Yes, it was until later when Yi-Ching Luo opened his memories. The memory that had been sealed for 10,000 years resurfaced in his mind. He then knew how stupid he was back then. He should have believed Feng Gu. Since he loved Feng Gu so deeply, why would he suspect her in the end? That Feng Gu who said she knew that he had cultivated the forbidden technique to protect her and pretended not to know, was not Feng Gu at all. The real Feng Gu. How could she possibly do that to him? That Feng Gu who tried to snatch the child and tried to kill him. Not Feng Gu at all. The real Feng Gu loved her child so deeply that she could even sacrifice herself, so how could she possibly say that it was the child's divine phoenix profound heart jade? And how would she know that the child was in his arms? And even dealt a vicious hand to him, totally disregarding the child's safety. He was really stupid. So stupid that he only realized now that something was wrong. That Feng Gu was a fake Feng Gu. The motive was to get Feng Ji's child, which was Yi-Ching Luo. Because my life was exchanged with my mother's life, so that's why you tried your best to keep me alive, right? Yi-Ching Luo's gaze returned to the thatched roof. Bloodbone barbaric king responded with a soft N. He immediately reacted to Yi-Ching Luo's words. Are you trying to tell me that I want you to live, and you want your group of brothers to live, is the same? Yi-Ching Luo struggled to raise her hand. On his finger, the totem of a phoenix spreading its wings faintly flowed. Ah, Xian must be looking for me. Bring me along and follow the profound phoenix ring's senses to look for him. Yi-Ching Luo said word by word. In her current state, it was indeed not suitable to fight head-on with the palace of gloomy darkness. With Ah Xian by her side, only then could she feel at ease. The barbaric blood-bone king looked at the profound phoenix ring and then at Yi-Ching Luo. After a long time, he finally said, all right. Under Yi-Ching Luo's urging, barbaric blood king carried the person up and placed him into Chi-Chi's soft fur. While he was moving, the wound on his shoulder affected his entire body, causing him to feel a tearing pain. She held it in and leaned against Chi-Chi's back. At this moment, the barbaric blood-bone king's expression froze. He looked at a spot in the dense forest in front of him with a cold expression. Who's there? When Yi-Ching Luo heard that, her heart skipped a beat. He tilted his head slightly and looked in the direction of the blood-bone barbaric king. Barbaric blood-bone king stood in front of Yi-Ching Luo with a vigilant expression. Very quickly, a figure slowly walked out from that spot. That person was dressed in a green robe, his hair was combed neatly, and his entire body was filled with an elegant and refined temperament. Especially that pair of eyes which looked towards Yi-Ching Luo, was like glass, dazzling and dazzling. He stood there with a gentle expression. His lips curled into a smile. Like a spring breeze. as if it was emitted from his bones. The fastest update speed, hurry up and read it. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.